The unlikely resurrection of Marco Reyes. In what used to be a trendy area in Cubao, Marco Reyes sat alone in his rundown condominium, surrounded by faded posters of his former glory. The walls, once adorned with accolades and snapshots of his cinematic triumphs, now reflected a life lived in the shadow of yesterday's fame. It had been years since his last hit film, a romantic comedy that had charmed the nation. Now, at 45, he was a relic of the past, a fading star among the glittering lights of the metropolis. Marco stared at his reflection in the dusty mirror, the ghost of a boyish grin staring back at him. He rubbed the stubble on his chin, contemplating the idea that had been brewing in his mind for weeks. What if he created a sex tape? It seemed absurd, yet it was a desperate measure for a desperate time. With social media evolving at lightning speed, a scandal, however tasteless, could catapult him back into the limelight. After all, sex sells, and who wouldn't want to see what had become of the heartthrob who once made every Filipino swoon? Determined, Marco rummaged through the remnants of his past, finding his old video camera dusted off from neglect. It was a relic of a time when he could shoot charming clips of himself charming his fans and making them laugh. Now it would be the vessel of his new ambition. He set up the camera in his bedroom, adjusting the angle to capture his best side, the side that once graced magazine covers. As he readied himself, an uninvited cacophony of voices erupted from the living room. His family had arrived unannounced, as families often do. Marco's mother, with her relentless need to remind him of his obligations, was in full force. "Marco, are you coming for lunch? Your father made his famous adobo. And you should see your cousins, they're all growing up." Marco groaned internally. The chaos of his family was the last thing he needed while trying to reclaim his fame. He had intended to film something private and intimate, not share it with a gathering of relatives, half of whom would undoubtedly find a way to leak the video for laughs. "Just a minute, Ma," he shouted, wishing he had the power to will them away. But the clamor only grew louder. He could hear the sound of laughter, the clinking of utensils, and his mother's persistent calls for everyone to sit down. Defeated, Marco descended from his bedroom, where dreams of a viral resurgence awaited him. As he entered the living room, he was met with the sight of his family crowded around the dining table, plates overflowing with food, oblivious to his internal turmoil. "Maruko! Join us," his cousin Angela exclaimed, her cheeks flushed with excitement. She was scrolling through her phone, probably on TikTok, where every trend erupted overnight. The thought made him uneasy, his mind racing with visions of a viral video that would never be. "Yeah, Marco, it's good to see you again," chimed in his younger brother, who had taken to wearing oversized shirts and claiming he was too cool for the world. Marco forced a smile, acknowledging their enthusiasm while he internally grappled with the idea of hiding from the world or confronting it. The lunch dragged on, conversations revolving around the latest viral challenges and celebrity gossip. Marco felt like an outsider, a forgotten relic in a world that no longer cared for him. As they shared laughs over family anecdotes, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were merely indulging him out of pity. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he excused himself, retreating to the sanctuary of his bedroom. He had to make this happen. With a renewed sense of urgency, he flipped on the camera, ready to reclaim his narrative. The moment was interrupted by a shrill beep. The camera battery was dead. Marco cursed under his breath. "Of course," he muttered, grabbing the charger and plugging it in, only to realize the cord had vanished, presumably swallowed by the same dark void that had consumed his career. "Marco," his mother's voice called again, more insistent this time. "Can you help with the decorations? Your aunties are coming over later." With a resigned sigh, he trudged back into the living room, forcing himself to engage in the family preparations. The act was a monotonous cycle, folding cloth, arranging chairs, while he felt his dreams slipping away. But Marco was determined. After lunch, he would escape to the camera repair shop just a few blocks away. Surely they could help him fix the equipment. The shop was a small, cluttered space filled with all kinds of outdated electronics. The air smelled of soldering iron and old metal. Marco approached the counter, greeted by a young technician with bright blue hair and piercings that decorated his face like a modern art installation. Can I help you?" the technician asked, glancing up from his phone. "I need to fix my camera." "It won't charge," Marco replied, trying to hide the urgency in his voice. The technician inspected the camera, rolling his eyes as he did. "This thing is ancient. You know that, right? It'll cost you." "Cost me? I just need it fixed." "Can't you do it for free? I'm Marco Reyes." He added the last part, almost as an afterthought. The technician smirked. "Marco Reyes, eh? Heard of you. What have you done lately? Starred in a soap opera or something?" "Very funny," Marco shot back, irritation rising. "I'm trying to film something important here." "Like what? A retirement video?" "Sorry, I can't help you unless you're willing to pay." As the exchange grew increasingly heated, Marco felt the desperation surge within him. "I'm not paying you to make fun of me. Just fix the damn camera." "Watch your language, old man," the technician shot back, his voice rising. The two of them were locked in a standoff, the air thick with tension and miscommunication. It escalated quickly. The technician threw down the camera, and Marco retaliated by shoving a stack of old videotapes off the counter, watching them tumble to the floor like fallen soldiers. The shop erupted into chaos as the noise of their argument drew the attention of other customers. The situation was surreal. The camera, a symbol of his aspirations, was suddenly the epicenter of a violent outburst that was caught on a nearby phone. As the shouting escalated, someone started filming, capturing every awkward moment. As Marco stormed out of the shop, he was met with a flurry of notifications on his phone. The video had already gone viral. Clips of his argument were spreading across social media like wildfire, and within hours, he became a trending topic. "Who knew Marco Reyes had this side to him?" the posts exclaimed. Legendary actor turns drama into a real-life meltdown. He could hardly believe it. The absurdity of his situation hit him like a tidal wave. Instead of a tasteful comeback, he had accidentally become the meme of the moment, a symbol of frustration, a punchline in a joke he didn't even know existed. His phone buzzed incessantly, notifications flooding in. News outlets clamored to cover the incident. "Marco Reyes is back," they proclaimed. But not in the way he expected. At first he felt humiliated. But then, as the hours passed and the laughter erupted from his family group chat, he realized there was something exhilarating about it. The unpredictability of life, like an unexpected twist in a film, had propelled him back into the spotlight, albeit for reasons he never imagined. As the sun set over Manila, he sat in his apartment, the glow of his phone illuminating his face. He leaned back, contemplating the absurdity of it all. Fame was fickle, like a well-edited film that could be rewritten at any moment. And yet, perhaps this was his second chance, one not born from the careful curation of a sex tape, but from the raw, unfiltered chaos of reality. In that moment of realization, Marco found a new resolve. He would ride this wave of unexpected fame, embracing the chaos, creating stories, not just the polished narratives of his past but the genuine, messy moments that truly made life vibrant. He smiled to himself, looking out at the bustling streets of Manila where life thrummed with energy. Tomorrow, he would create something new, an online presence defined not by scandal but by authenticity, by laughter, by the unpredictability of living. And who knew? Maybe this would be the beginning of his greatest role yet, Marco Reyes, the man who embraced his flaws, who dared to be vulnerable, who became internet famous for all the wrong reasons, but in the end, perhaps, the right ones.